Good afternoon, good evening from Chicken Feed Quilts here in Coaldale. It's Kayla and Esther here. The sewing machine, we're going to talk about rulers today, but we'll talk about my sewing machine. This is a Sears Kenmore sewing machine. I was looking for a purple sewing machine. We were at a quilt store somewhere, my husband and I, and there was an original purple sewing machine in the window, and I was on a mission to find one. I found this one on eBay. It is not original. It is painted, and it is painted very badly.
Yep.
So I was very disappointed when it came in, and I have not searched for a purple sewing machine since then because I was just so upset about my purple sewing machine. But it does look kind of cool on our shelf, and it's a Kenmore. My sisters had this exact same machine for years. It's kind of a beigey, color. They sewed on it for years. Both of my sisters got one, I think, as a graduation present, or I started sewing way younger than they did, but my one sister did sew pretty young. But anyway, they both had the exact same sewing machine for years and years and years, and this one just happens to be painted purple in a really bad way. But anyway, so that's...
The color is cute. They did a very poor job.
They just did a poor job of painting it. So anyway, that is my purple Kenmore sewing machine. It is not original. It is, and I still would like to figure out what store it is that we went to and figure out the brand of that original purple one that they had in the window. So unless the guy lied to me there. Anyway.
All right.
So we're going to talk about Creative Grizz rulers.
Yeah, they're our favorite. We love them. We carry probably almost all of them. We don't carry all of them. Some of them are pretty unique and special in what they're used for, so they're more of a special order, but we can get any of them in for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We have probably more than 90% of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they have three different basic
Kind of ranges.
So they have the basic ranges that we're going to talk about first. Then they have a trim tool, and then they have the specialties, and then of course there's the stripologies. So I think this is the largest one, which
probably.
I brought it down. I do own one at home. We do have one at the store. They're great for trimming down quilts with large borders.
Yeah.
Besides for that, I don't use it for anything.
It is 12.5 by 18.5.
No, 24.5.
No, this one is 18.
24.5.
Then the sticker on the back is wrong that I'm reading.
So it's a good thing we have it out. It's
12.5 by 24.5.
Yeah, that's the biggest. They do have the 18.5 too, which I guess if you have to square 12.5-inch blocks and you like a little bit of a longer one and you don't want to square a square one, you could go with the 18.5. But like I said, the only thing I use this one for is trimming down my quilts.
Okay. I don't have one. Never used one.
This is
what most people call the standard?
This is the ruler. Everybody wants this ruler. This ruler needs to go in the garbage. The stickers are coming off and the sides are
pretty bumpy.
But this is the common size. We'll talk about the reason of the garbage later on if we have time in this video, or maybe do a separate video for that. So this is the standard 6.5 by 24.5 ruler that probably everybody except for me has in their
I don't have one either.
quilting room. So I do not use it. It is too long for me.
Yeah.
So that's that one. If we have time to talk about him, we'll talk about the reasoning.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about the 8.5 by 12.5. This is our favorite. Both of our favorites.
Both of our favorites. It's the absolute perfect ruler in my opinion.
8.5 by 12.5. Fits our hands. I think maybe we'll do a whole separate video.
I think so.
On that reasoning.
So this is the 8.5 by 12.5. And I have too many of them apparently. I had my sister-in-law sewing with me and she was cutting and I just went and I grabbed the other ruler off of the bottom of my shelf and she goes, "That's the same ruler." I'm like, "Yep," and I have two more downstairs in my other sewing room, I think. So it is a go-to for me. The 8.5 by 12.5, absolute favorite ruler.
Okay, this one's also fairly common. 8.5 by 18.5 or 6.5 by 18.5. I think that's kind of their three base sizes, I want to say.
So 6.5 by, and here's the 6.5 by 12.5.
Yeah, so 24.5 tall, 18.5 tall, and 12.5 tall, and then 6.5 or 8.5 wide.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how
they
run
do
all
have
their
some
numbers.
4.5s too, but
as they get in the smaller sizes.
So this is a 4.5 by 8.5. Which is great for trimming blocks. I wouldn't do any normal cutting with it, but so they have those. They have 3.5 by 6.5. We have our own little 2.5 by 6.5 in the basic range. So it has chicken feed quilts on it. It's just a fun little ruler. It's one of these staples that I probably have. There's one by my ironing table, one by my sewing machine, one by my cutting mat. You know, I just, yeah. And then they go a little bit smaller. There's a
down to 1.5 by 1.5.
Yeah, like really small. And I did bring a trim tool down, but I might have forgot, or a measuring one. Oh no, here it is. So this is the 1 by 12. So it's great for marking, for any kind of marking or whatever. They also have a 1 by 6, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of different basic range. This is called their basic range.
Yeah, and then they do squares from 1.5 up to 24.5.
Yeah, and the 20.5 is on the table, but I was going to bring it, I forgot to bring it. So
Yeah.
this is like great. These ones are absolutely amazing if you're squaring up blocks.
Yeah.
This is a 15.5, I believe.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a sampler, for instance, and you have high piecing in some blocks, low piecing in others, but you need to get 15.5 inch blocks when you're finished, or 18.5, or 20.5. To me, it's worth it to have a ruler to square it up.
Yep.
Nice to make sure you have, because sometimes seam allowances just are off, or fabric stretches
Yep.
a little bit.
Pressing, it all changes.
They're great for marking angles and for squaring up blocks. I don't
Got
use
the
them for,
diagonal line through.
like I don't use them a
centering
whole
lines.
lot, but I do use them for squaring up blocks. So I'm thinking 8.5 and 10.5 are probably my most common. But I just took a 9.5 home the other day because I need to square up 9.5 inch planet blocks, and I just wanted to have my picture in the center, and I wanted to. So yeah.
Yeah, and they all have the Creative Grids grippies on the back, so there's like a 1/4 inch line all the way around the ruler, and then all these circles. I don't know if you can see them in the video, probably not well. Just kind of covering the whole back, that it's grippy enough to hold your fabric, but not so grippy that it's going to stretch your fabric. Because we have tried another brand, and they were so grippy that they actually stretched the fabric more than held the fabric.
So when you put this down on your mat and there's fabric underneath, when you push on it, it doesn't move, but when you don't push on it, it moves. It slides nicely, and it does that on your fabric too.
Yeah.
So the grippies do help, and they have white and black markings. Kim, you want to talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so they've got white markings in the solid numbers, 1 through 15 on this in this case. So across the top and down the side, and then if you turn the ruler over, then you've got the black markings in the 1.5 or in the 1/2 inch increments across the top and down the side. So you kind of get used to reading which numbers, because obviously this number and this number are very different. This one's a 3, this one's a 12.5. So you got to get used to looking at the correct numbers, but they work depending on light or dark fabrics, or if you're cutting halves or fulls, or kind of just.
They have the center lines in them.
Yep.
The rectangles and the squares have the center lines. So you've got your center, and then they have the angles for cutting your bias bindings, and you know, any angles, 45s and 60 angles in both colors, the black and the white markings. So that's pretty handy on that. So that's their basic range lineup, I guess you could say.
It's a basic range. It's not so basic. It's got a lot to it.
It's got a lot, but yes.
They're plain old rulers. So 6.5.
So then the other one, the next ones would be their trim tools, as we call them.
Yeah.
And we did have a half square. Oh yes, right here. These two are my absolute favorite rulers. Everybody needs to have them in their stash, in their ruler. Everybody does. And Kayla just informed me that they're making a new.
Yes. So this is the Ultimate Flying Geese ruler. I would not make flying geese without it. I know Esther wouldn't either. So this ruler does 8 sizes of flying geese, from 1/2 inch by 1 to 4 by 8. And so it's the 1/2 inch and full inch increments, I guess, right? 1/2 by 1, 1 by 2, 1.5 by 3. And they've just released, like it ships in May, I believe. It's called the Ultimate Flying Geese Ruler 2, and it's in the quarters. So it's like, I can't think of, I guess 1.25 by 2.5 would be one of the sizes on there.
Yeah, and
so
I often adjust my patterns to make it work with these ones. So I'm really, really, really excited to have all the sizes available.
Yeah.
So
that'll be fun.
So trim tool, you always have perfect points, and they're always exactly the right size, and it's just amazing. So you cut it, there's instructions for cutting in them, and then you trim them after you sew.
Yeah.
And they're like absolute perfect because you trim after you sew. And then this is the 4-in-1 half square triangle ruler. I only use 2 methods on here. I don't know, do you use more, Kayla?
No.
So there is 4 methods, but same thing. You don't lose points, and I would not make half square triangles without it. And I will adjust all of my patterns if they're half square triangles or flying geese, I will adjust all my patterns to work with the rulers.
Yep, me too. And we're going to be doing some tutorials in the next few months here on using the rulers and how we change fabric cutting and how to trim them properly. So
And
watch for those.
Have a log cabin and I've lost it. I must have put it down somewhere.
Yeah.
But the log cabin comes in 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 different. There's a 10 is I think a skinny one. I don't know if there's a regular 10.
I think so.
They come in the regular and the curvy. The 10 comes in a skinny. The 12 does the 6 and a 12-inch, so you got 2 in
Lots
one
of
kind of thing.
options
The
that
ruler's
way.
a little bit large to do the 6-inch, but there's options for it. And same thing, your log cabins are perfect. Any of the trim tools, if you are like a guild or you do quilts with other people that you make so many blocks and you do a block swap, if everybody uses, for instance, an 8.5-inch ruler, so if you use 8.5 inch or like the 8-inch finished,
Yeah.
that's one thing they do. They're always finished sizes on the rulers, but if you're using half square triangles and you're using the trim tool, if you're using flying geese and you're using the trim tool, log cabin, cat's cradle, pineapple, any of them, if you're doing them and you're using 8.5-inch size, all your blocks will be 8.5-inch. Anybody who uses it, because you trim after you sew, so you don't have to be so concerned about your seam allowances being perfect. Of course, you don't want them too big because then you might not have trim room, but
Gives
you
you a little more flexibility.
It gives you a
for
lot
sure.
of flexibility and you get perfect blocks and perfect points with them.
Yep.
So this is another one. The
Strippy
Strippy
Star.
Stars is more of a specialty, I would think.
Yeah.
The other ones are kind of like specialty, and I would think that this would be, they have the triangle, the 60 degree, there's 45, there's 15, there's 10, there's
Yeah,
30,
22.
there's 22 and a half, so they have all
120.
the,
It's crazy.
120, all the angles, like all the angles that you could possibly dream about. I think 15 and 60 are probably the two most common
I
angles
think so.
that you would use, but yeah. And then they have the Dresden plate. This is the Sunburst, not the Dresden plate. Dresden plate looks almost like that. It's got a little circle even in there for you to cut your circle for your Dresden flowers. But there's a ton especially, and those are the ones that we don't have probably all of them, because they're just a little bit too, some of them are, we have a ton of them. We just couldn't bring them all down. I think we have 120 different rulers.
We'll find out tomorrow when they
Oh yeah,
move
they're moving around, so, but
Yep.
yeah, there's a lot. And then the last ones would be the Stripology
Yeah,
rulers.
I just have the mini one here, just they take up so much room on the table, but this is the Stripology Squared Mini. There's a Stripology Quarters Mini, which has a lot of markings on it, but works really well with her patterns. The Stripology Extra Large is probably the most popular ruler that we sell, even, I think.
Yeah.
Besides for maybe these two.
Yeah.
But we sell a lot of those. We've done a lot of classes on them. The Stripology Squared is another great one. Yeah, those are all four are designed by G, and
Yeah.
she's got pattern support for them, and you can use your own patterns for them, and
Yeah, like there's
that's just a whole nother topic.
a
I
whole
think,
nother
that
topic,
we-
yeah, but
we
it was
need
just
to get into.
It was just
so
a Creative Grids ruler.
they
that we
are,
wanted
yeah.
to
She
show.
works with
So-
Creative Grids, so yeah.
So those are our rulers. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out by phone or email. All the girls at the shop are really, they know all of them pretty much.
Yeah.
I've made them learn, and if they don't, then they will have to learn what you ask them, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
but yeah, I think we're all quite learned in the ruler. It's one of our favorite things is the rulers, and I think we're going to have to do a demo, some more demos on them, and a little
Yeah.
bit more talking, because it'll just get too long if we have to.
Yeah, for
Talk too
sure.
much about
They
about
do
them.
have, Creative Grids does have, if you scan the QR code, a video tutorial for all of their rulers, so that is an option as well, but we will be creating our own, so we've got a couple things we do a little bit differently than they even do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So.
All right, thanks for watching. Have a great week.